We're back now with a rare glimpse into the First Lady's life. The Amazon-produced film Melania, 20 Days to History, hitting theaters across the country today. And our very own Chloe Melas was at the premiere last night in Washington. Chloe, you were one of the few people who have actually seen this film. So how was it? And talk to me about some of the things that you did when you were there.
I mean, first of all, it was a fascinating glimpse into seeing what is her life like, not only here in New York City at her penthouse just a few blocks away here from Rockefeller Center, where we are right now, to life at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, she really takes you behind the scenes of what life was like leading up to the inauguration. There is a lot of fashion, okay? So she's meeting with stylists, fashion designers. She talks about growing up as a model early on, and obviously that was really what she was doing before she married Donald Trump, and then she had a jewelry line for QVC. She had her own beauty line at one point, but she also...
The hat was a big thing at the inauguration.
The hat was a big thing, and you see a lot of her getting the hat just right. We also learned that she loves Michael Jackson. At one point, she's singing along to Billie Jean. So she loves all things Michael Jackson. There's a lot of 80s pop that's played in this movie. She had a lot to do with post-production. She was involved in the editing process. She's a producer on this film. And she also said that she specifically picked the playlist, the music for this film. So you really get like a vibe as to what she's listening to on like Spotify or Apple Music. And then I will say she does talk a lot about losing her mother in 2024. She talks about the profound grief that she had. And for anybody that might have speculation about her relationship with President Donald Trump, they are very affectionate in this film. A lot of hand-holding. You know, they seem to be very much in love in the way it's portrayed in this documentary.
And then I know you had a chance to speak both with the president and the First Lady. What did you learn?
You know, the main thing that I wanted to ask President Donald Trump and First Lady Melania Trump was the fact that there's so much criticism that Amazon paid $40 million to acquire the rights to this film. And I asked Melania point blank, what are you going to do with this money? Take a listen.
We have a bidding process. We approach other platforms, and Amazon was the best because they agreed to do theatrical releases as a film in theaters all around the world. It's opening tomorrow all around the world.
Are you going to give any of the money to any of the charities that you work with or any of those organizations?
Yes, I already work with Fostering the Future, and I already sponsor for scholarship, the Students for Scholarship. I already have many of them, and they're very successful. So yes,
details. So I hope they will enjoy it.
Do you think this film will change the minds of non-Trump supporters and maybe garner?
Well, I think they'd have to go and ask President Obama, who got paid a lot of money and hasn't done anything. So I think they probably have to go because if you take a look at others, they've been paid a lot of money. But this is somebody, Melania, who really produced. She's done a great thing. This is a very important piece of work.
So as you can see, Melania Trump did not really answer my question as to what is she going to do with all of this money. And a lot of people have a problem with it because they feel as though a sitting first lady should not be accepting money. But as you heard President Trump, he has very strong opinions about that and made those comments about the Obama administration.
So the documentary's out in theaters. How's it being received?
So as of now, people are being very critical. So there are headlines that are pretty scathing right now. Some asking, like Variety, saying, why would Amazon spend $75 million on a movie this boring? You have The Atlantic saying the Melania Trump documentary is a disgrace. You know, typically when you have a big streamer in a studio like Amazon coming out with a documentary, somebody as high profile as Melania Trump, they would have press screenings. They would release screeners in advance to members of the media, and they did not do that. A lot of people have asked, how did I get into the screening last night? I will not reveal my secrets, but I am one of the first people that had a chance to see it.
Yeah, I've interviewed Melania. I've sat down with her, and I realize she can also be polarizing. There's people that really are going to have a problem no matter what she does, and there's people that love her. I mean, she's beloved, especially to President Trump supporters. The people that do like Melania, that do like the First Lady, are they going to learn stuff about her? Are they going to really appreciate this film?
I think that the MAGA fan base is going to love this film, and they're going to love all of the behind-the-scenes footage. Whether or not Melania Trump is going to gain any new fans from this movie is really left to be seen. But when I asked Mrs. Trump what her thoughts are and who this movie is for, she said it's for everybody, teenagers and the like. I do want to show you, I brought back some little, like the little treats from the film. So this is also similar to what they had at the White House at their screening last weekend. So cookies that say Melania on it. And then inside here, popcorn.
Okay.
Want a piece?
I feel that was a big build-up for the popcorn. I feel like there should have been something more interesting in there.
Like a steak that was going to pop out of here. So look, we're going to see how this movie does. We're going to see. I mean, the projections right now are about $5 million, which is pretty good for a documentary. But it could even fare better. And you know, like her or not, I think that a lot of people are going to want to see what's in this film. Real quick, if people can't go to the theater, when can they see it on Amazon Prime? So it is going to be streaming at some point. There is not a date yet, but then there are going to be 3 episodes that are going to release on streaming with footage that did not make it into the actual documentary. Everything you wanted to know about the Melania documentary right there, Chloe Melas, all over it. Plus, we thank you for watching. And remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.